Howdy howdy, and this is a lot of basic things in Swift. So first we're going to talk a little bit about classes and structs and the things inside of them. So the first thing, classes and structs are very similar. The only difference or some of the big differences is a struct, whenever you create something after a struct, it creates its own copy of it. Whereas whenever you create an instance of a class, like Charles right here, who's a person class, it just creates a reference to that original class. So that's one of the biggest differences. And then obviously classes allow for inheritance and overriding methods from their superclass. So in our superclass person, we have properties like name and age, and then we have an initializer for name. So that's why down here, Charles, we have name, and then we have this name right here. And then we have some methods like display name that will just print his name, and then we have like eat something that takes a string. So these are properties and then our methods, which are functions. And then down here we have our student class, which inherits from person, so it has everything that person has. And then inside of it we also add GPA, and we override a previous method called display name, which is up here. So we override it and say student's name is, so we just change it up a little bit. So method, function, or sorry, property, method, and then we override a previous method. And again, Charles, this is an instance of the person class. So here's some inheritance that goes a little not so good, our nasty paths. And this one deals a lot with constants and what happens as they get passed from their super to their subclass, because it doesn't allow you to change any of the constants up here. And then also if you create an instance of dog like Clifford as a constant, then there's nothing that can be changed on him after he's initialized, then it's there for good. But then we also have a variable, some dog, and so we could change the hair color if we really wanted to after we initialize it, but the number of eyes still can't be changed because it's a constant up here. And then we come down to Chihuahua, and same type of thing after we initialize it. We also, in a subclass, this is how you'd override the initializing method. It's just right here. You have to override init and then super.init right here. So then we say, okay, so for all Chihuahuas, you're just gonna have one eye. And then if we went to change the number of eyes, it won't let you because it's a constant. And so here's our structure for a table. Again, same type of thing as a class. You have the properties and then method. And here's my table, which inherits, or which is a table. And we initialize it with all these. And here's a bad example of a struct. So this actually works just fine, but then if we try to inherit, like we create a trout and we try to make it inherit from fish, even if we change this to capital F, it would still give us, it would complain because structs can't inherit from other structs. And even if we try to inherit from a person, which is a class up here, it can't do that because, again, structs can't inherit. And then, yeah, same type of thing down here. So one of the interesting things that I really liked was tuples, and we can return a tuple, which is really cool compared to a lot of the previous languages I've worked with, like C and yeah, just other languages, C being the main one that I've worked with in C++. But you can only return one thing from a function, and with this you can return multiple, and they can be different. So here's how we would return that. So this, it takes an array of ints, and then it finds the min and max, and it returns both of them, just like this. And down here we create a tuple, and there's a couple different ways to create it. So we can explicitly say, okay, this is going to be a double-double, and then we say, okay, double-double. Or we can just do a little bit shorthand and say, okay, dinner and tax is equal to this, and so this is a tuple as well. And then we can also, from this, we can decompose the tuple, which is very valuable after you get a tuple, to break it apart. So you say, okay, the first one's dinner, the second one's tax, from dinner and tax. So now dinner is 13.1 and this is 1.1. And right down here is kind of a little bit longer on how to create it, but we have breakfast and tax. So we have breakfast is double, and so we already create these inside of it. So if we wanted to get like 12.1, we could just do breakfast and tax dot, and then you have your two different variables. So we do breakfast, and we can see over here that it's 12.1, which is right there. All right, so let's go into a little bit of the nasty paths for tuples. Oh, so we can do doubles, strings, and ints just fine. Can't add them together. Even if they're both doubles, we can't add tuples. You'd have to decompose them and then add them yourself. And then you can have tuples of tuples. It's not necessarily a nasty path. I just had no idea how it works. And then you could access a specific one by just saying, okay, I want from the first tuple of the second tuple. So a little crazy. And then here's enumerations, good, ratings. We have enum ratings and we have our different cases in there. And then here's another way to create it. We have our case and we just separate it by commas so it's all in the same line instead of like this. And then we can also create a hash or a raw value, sorry. And if we do it like this, ranged equal to 1, then it already knows that melee is going to be 2 and unarmed is 3. So down here we have class Bob. I don't know why I created him, but then we have a dog with a rating of best, and then typical way for an enum is just to use a switch case because you can just say case good, better, best, and then you can do whatever you want. For the nasty, if you do case 1, it's expecting words, not numbers for the enum. And then this I thought was pretty interesting. If we do case blonde and we give it the raw value of a string, blondish, and then we say, okay, well, what's brown? And we print the raw value, it actually just prints out brown. So it just takes whatever it's called and has that as the raw value. It's not brownish, but it still gives brown. And that's